can you even use archers in KVK2? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you some awesome battle reports suggesting that you can really put together some very powerful archer marches in KVK2 that absolutely wreck your enemy. So stick around. What's up everybody, Psych out here with another Rise of Kingdoms video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about archer marchers, and look, I wasn't planning on making this video at all, but one of my friends sent me 5 battle reports from just the other day, looking at 5 archer marchers. Well, in this case, actually, it's 3 archer marches. Really can't run 5 archer marches in KVK2, but 3 archer marches just absolutely wrecking a T5 player with T4 marches, and it's just a really incredible sight to see. And so I thought, okay, let's throw something together here. Let's take a look at this, and let's really look at the viability of playing archers in KVK2. Now, you might be saying, why is this even a question? Why couldn't you play archers in KVK2? Well, a couple of reasons why you might not think archers are very viable in KVK2. And so before I do that, let me jump over here to the commanders, and let's just take a look at what commanders are even available for KVK2 for archers. So of course we have Isong. I'm going to move myself out of the way. A very playable archer in KVK2, of course, totally playable. We've got Cid as a playable archer in KVK2. Who else do we have here? I think that's it. We've got Edward, of course, if you've got him from the wheel, although, you know, if it's your first time in KVK2, you might not have that many Edwards yet. As a playable archer in KVK2, we've got Hermann, we've got Kusonoki, one of my favorites, at least for KVK2, as a playable archer. So that's really it. You might have Kira, and you can see here my Kira is 5-3-2-1. You know, not quite there yet, but it takes a while to expertise Kira. But if you have an expertise Kira, she's is probably one of the archers you'd be considered playing in KVK2 as well. And then we get down here, and it looks like I don't even have, do I not even have, oh no, I have her, she must be up here in the legendaries, and I somehow skipped her. Where is Tomyris? Okay, so, and then there's Tomyris, and you can see my Tomyris is just, I have 3 in the first skill and nothing else. But that's really it. Those are your archers. You're looking at Edward, Tomyris, you're looking at Kusonoki, Hermann, Cid, YSG. Those are probably the main archer marches you can use. You can also use Kira. So that's not very many archer marches. You can't really put together 5 archer marches in KVK2. You can't really put together much of any one troop type in KVK2. But there's a lot of talk going around these days about using 5 archer marches in things like Season of Conquest. So you might wonder, like, can we use a lot of archers in KVK2? And I think a lot of people would say not really, because KVK2, you've got Richard, you've got Charles Martel, you've got Isong, you've got Alex, you've got Isong obviously is an archer, but can be used with infantry. There's so much emphasis, it seems like, on infantry marches. Sun Tzu is a very playable epic. And for cav marches, you're really looking at what, like Saladin, maybe Khan. There's not a lot of strength in the cav marches for KVK2 either. So mostly KVK2 is all about infantry, and most players just play infantry. But archers is sort of an interesting one, and you would think maybe it's not the most playable. But then, like I said here, my friend Unbearable, or Bear as we call him, shared with me these 5 reports, and I happened to see the battle ongoing, but unfortunately I wasn't recording at the time. I just happened to look over at an area and see he was fighting a 5v5 situation near the ruins, which is pretty interesting against a pretty strong player. So here are these battle reports looking at these 5, well, in this case, 3 archer marches that Bear was running, plus 2 infantry marches against a T5 player who was running infantry calves, and I think that he was running T4 archers. So let's take a look at these reports, and let's get into what's going on. Okay, so this first one here, this is a Sun Tzu. This is an infantry march, obviously Sun Tzu with Alex. A very good combo. His Alex, as we'll see here. By the way, I should say that Unbearable is an archer player, right? This is an archer account. He's dedicated this entire account towards archers. So that's why I think it's really interesting, like, you know, how playable are archers in the open field in KVK2. So let's take a look here at the troop buffs on this. So you can see his Alex is only 5.5. 5511. Again, he's not an infantry player, he's an archer player, so he's got Alex at 5511. The opponent has a 5511 Richard and an expertise Ethelfled. Okay, so that's useful to know. And we can look here, we can also look at the opponent's troops. I want to point this out that we can see that the opponent is using tier 5 infantry. For that march, and on the Saladin Baibars march, he's using tier 5 cavalry, and on this march, tier 5 infantry, and on this march, I think he's got tier 5 infantry here for Alex YSG, so mostly tier 5 infantry. I think he does have one tier 4 one tier 4 archer march in there as well. So that's, we're not going to go too deep into that report because that was an infantry report. So, okay, so here's an archer report. So here's Edward with, I believe it was Tomyris as the secondary, a very common combination. And I think the combinations he's using here make a lot of sense. I would probably switch things around a little bit in terms of the order, but let's take a look. And you notice that the opponent is using Tomyris and Kira himself. So, and that's that archer march, and I think, yes, this is T4. Okay, so both players are Ottoman. I'm pretty sure Bear is also Ottoman. Yes, the Janissaries. Okay, so both players are Ottoman, special unit. Notice that Bear does have more troops, so he was using a 50% expansion at the time. The opponent was not. But let's look at these trades. So here we see Edward versus Tomyris, 2,600 in the hospital to 27. And again, by the way, I don't know if this opponent is in this location still or not. It looks like the answer is not. But the opponent's around 60 million power. So this isn't some just total chump opponent by any means. So let's jump back in here and take a look at what else this Edward Tommy did. So that's just, I mean, that's just a slaughter, right? Here's another one, 3,000 to 12,000 against the Richard Ethelfled. Here's another one, 3,700 to 15,000. And remember, by the way, these are T5. This is T5 infantry. It's just absolutely wrecking these marches. And again, here we see another one with T5 infantry. And I think this might have been the last one. I'm going to go take a look here at the battle log. I think this might have been the last one that he eliminated. Let me see if we can get far enough down into the report, because I think this was at the very end of the battle, if I remember correctly. So you can see this battle went on for quite a while. And yes, okay, so a couple of things here. This is, look at that damage on that one. The enemy has 38,000 troops left. All right, this is turn 72 here, and the Edward Tommy knocks out almost 1/3 of the troops on Edward's skill. So let's take a look here and see. And this is the thing, I actually haven't looked at this yet, so I kind of want to see. I'm really interested in seeing what's going on here. Okay, so we see a bunch of buffs for Edward. I'm really curious as to looking at some of maybe the debuffs are over here. Skill damage taken plus 21%. And that's right here. That's from Tomyris's fourth skill. So how many stacks does that mean? Let's see. 15 times, and each one adds 3%. So that means it had 7 stacks. 7 stacks, additional 21% skill damage taken. And that's really, I think, the key. I think that's really the linchpin to these archer marches is the Tomyris. Particularly in KVK3, she can stack up those stacks, and all of your other marches that are doing skill damage, and we'll see his other marches here in a second, and that's the thing I noticed when I was watching this in real time. Those marches just got annihilated when that skill damage fired off, and I think it's really because of this skill from Tomyris. I think it's really, really powerful, and that's what's making these marches do so much damage. So Edward Tommy doing an awesome job there. Let's jump back in here and take a look at one of the other archer reports. Let's see if this is one of the archers. Okay, so this is Cid and Hermann. Now, I did notice something strange. The opponent here, Imperator, was focusing the Cid Hermann march, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think this is a very effective strategy. It's one of the tankier marches that he had out there. He could have targeted Edward Tommy, which I think would have made a lot of sense because I mean, again, the Tomyris is stacking those poison stacks. That means every time it gets hit with skill damage, it's taking extra damage from all these marches that are doing lots of skill damage. Cid has insta-proc damage, insta-proc skill damage, so that's getting boosted. He has regular, his first skill damage. Hermann has first skill damage. So he's focusing, I think, in this case, the wrong march. But nonetheless, despite this one being focused, you can say, okay, 6,000 in the hospital or 6,100 in the hospital, 4,800. But remember, this is T5. Look at the power trade, 24 to 48. Look at the power trade here, 21 to, and this is archers, right? So that's archers. And again, here we see archers against infantry, the power trade again in Bear's favor. Archers against, this is calves, this is a T5 calves, and he's still doubling the win on the power trade. And again, against more infantry, another, and this was, and again, the Hermann Cid was being targeted. Again, I think that's a big mistake. The Hermann Cid is one of the tankier marches that was available. And so I think that was wrong. But nonetheless, the Hermann Cid still doing very, very good work there. Let's jump to this one. Okay, he also had an Ethelfled Joan, I believe, which again would have been a much, in my opinion, a much better target to go after. I think I would have focused that over the Hermann Cid. We can scroll through this one real quick. I think this is actually infantry is the troop type. Oh, it's mixed. Okay, so he did have mixed, archers, calves, and infantry. So a mixed troop type. We see some sort of mixed results here, I think, by power. Again, when you're putting Ethelfled and Joan together, you're not putting them out there to do damage. You're putting them out there for buffs and debuffs, and certainly there was a lot of that going on. So this did okay, just did okay in terms of the power trade. But again, the buffs and debuffs that it was adding are the real effect. And by the way, if you haven't noticed yet, Ethelfled is ridiculously good and very playable for a really long time. So yeah, I recommend you expertising that Ethelfled and figuring out a way to get her on the field when you can, and get her on the field without being targeted. Okay, so this is the YSG Kusonoki. Again, this is what I mean by saying, it wasn't an optimal setup. I think Kusonoki YSG would be better. Kusonoki clears any debuffs, and he does have some debuffs going. Alexander creates a debuff where you take more damage. Richard, who the opponent had, creates a damage reduction debuff. So it would be nice to clear those debuffs first with Kusonoki and then let YSG's skill go off. But he doesn't have enough books there. He doesn't want to invest the books into Kusonoki, taking Kusonoki to level 60. And he uses YSG in the garrison. So that's another sub-optimization here. And you're not going to be able to really see it. If we can take a look at the troop buffs for this march. You're not going to be able to really see it here because he has some very good stats here. Archer attack, archer defense, archer health is very good. And that's because he has good gear. And I'm going to put up his gear here at the end of the video and talk a little bit about that gear. So he has really good gear on these archer marches. But you're not going to see it here, but he has a garrison build on YSG because he uses YSG Tomyris in garrison. And he doesn't want to spend the talent resets to redo it every time he's going to use YSG on the field. So really, he should have Kusonoki as the primary. Again, he doesn't want to invest the XP into Kusonoki. So he's just living with a garrison build on YSG, which is, again, totally suboptimal. But let's look at the damage, right? So you go, okay, 2,000 to 7,000, but look at the power. That's 8,000 to 71,000. That's because, again, this is T5. Now, again, I know he has a troop expansion, but this is T5 troops. This is T4 fighting T5, right? These are T4 troops fighting against T5 and just absolutely wrecking them. Look at this, 12,500 to 285,000 by power loss. This is just an absolute smashing by Kusonoki YSG. Here's 5.6k to 120 against cavalry, right? Cavalry are supposed to counter archers. And then again against this Charles Martel Sun Tzu, just massive amounts of damage. So really impressive reports when we're talking about T4 archers just crushing T5 troops, T5 infantry, T5 cavalry. Just getting massively good trades. And it just got me thinking, you know what, maybe archers are much more playable in KVK2 than we might think. I've seen on my own account that Kusonoki YSG is actually a pretty good combo. It actually does a lot of damage in KVK2. I think Hermann El Cid or El Cid Hermann, however you want to pair them up, makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of synergy between those two. And then I think the Edward Tomyris, even though it's only single target damage, those last two marches are only single target damage, but because of Tomy's debuff, if you've got that fourth skill maxed, and of course I think expertising Tomyris is a really valuable thing to do as well. So I'll bring Tomyris up here so we can take a look, take a closer look at what her skills give you. But I think this expertise is also really valuable. You get that extra attack, you get that extra counterattack damage because a lot of times the Tomyris is focused. And it also reduces the attack of cavalry. And again, cavalry are going to want to go after archers. So I think there's a lot of value to expertising Tomyris, but really this fourth skill is where it's at. You stack up those poisons, increase that skill damage, and that means every time a march hits that march with skill damage, they're getting that extra additional skill damage, and you could just see it in real time as the battle was going on. Those marches just got decimated. Every time a skill went off, you could just see those marches getting crushed. And so if you've got Tomyris in a really good spot, 5-1-1-5 or expertised, I think archers are really playable actually in KVK2. Of course, you'd have to have gone past the KVK2 to get Tomyris, and then you'd have to migrate back to KVK2 to be able to use her. But if you've got that, I mean, it's just a very, very powerful commander to be using in KVK2, and you can get really awesome trades like this even with just T4 troops. So look, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about archers and figured out some ways to use archers in KVK2. Oh, real quick, I said I was going to show Bear's gear. So here it is up here on the screen. I'm going to show you all three sets of gear. And as you can see, his gear is really good. He's got some excellent legendary pieces. He's got special talent epic pieces. The gear is just a really strong set of gear. And so there's no doubt that that played a big role in how successful this matchup was. But it also tells you something about gear and how important it is to get really good gear and to get the proper gear on the proper marches, which is something that we'll be talking about on this channel very soon. So look, like I said, I hope you learned something in this video. I hope you learned something about Tomyris and maybe how powerful and important Tomyris is, how you should use her on the field, and probably you should be targeting her down if you see a Tomyris going up against you. And if you did learn something in this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new video comes out. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.